Hey guys, happy Libra season. I am here with an astrological update for a transit taking place starting next week, and that is Jupiter's retrograde in Gemini. So, yes, starting October 8th or 9th through February 4th of next year. Jupiter will retrograde through the zodiac sign of Gemini. So, obviously, this calls up the energy shift of a retrograde and Jupiter's energy in our life, as well as the traits and qualities of Gemini. So if you're curious to learn more about retrograde cycles in general, there's a link to a blog below where you can dive deeper in that. But for this video, I'm really going to focus on how I expect to see this energy shift in our lives, as well as how to navigate it. So let's talk about Jupiter and Jupiter energy, the function of Jupiter in our lives, as well as the solar system. Jupiter is one of my favorite planets to talk about because of how it operates in our solar system. Jupiter is the largest planet and actually exerts a significant force on our own gravitational field and orbit. Not only that, Jupiter has what is called a magnetosphere. It has a ginormous, expansive gravitational field because of its certain properties. It has a very fast rotation on its axis and quite a bit of electrical storms. Jupiter has many lightning storms taking place all the time. And because of this, it exerts this really massive field that can actually be felt farther away than our sun's own gravitational field. Isn't that crazy? Like if you were approaching our solar system in space, you would acknowledge, or we would sense the presence of Jupiter's field before our sun's field. So, very expansive planet, which is where Jupiter kind of gets its astrological traits and qualities. Jupiter in astrology is associated with benevolence, good luck, expansion, optimism, faith, all these types of principles. And we really see this reflected in how Jupiter operates in our solar system. Jupiter has actually saved the Earth from being hit by asteroids and comets because of its very expansive field. And so thank you, Jupiter. And represented by Zeus in Greek mythology, there is this correlation with Jupiter energy having this godlike element to it, where it instills us with self-belief, with inspiration, with faith, this sense that we can do it, that we're going to reach new heights. I like to say that Jupiter is the force that called humans to go to the moon. There had to be something inside of us that wanted to go to the moon before it was ever done before, that allowed us to set that goal and to achieve it. And in a way, Jupiter gives us this unrealistic property to us. The fact that, oh, I believe I can do it. The self-belief of this grandiose perspective on the world to kind of set and aspire to greater things. And I actually love that Jupiter represents this unrealistic part of ourselves that is like, I'm going to go do that thing, even though I've never done it before. And it's because unrealistic goals are what expand our world. If you remain in a realistic mindset around your life, you will never step outside of the rules that you know to be true for what's possible. And it's actually the people who are unrealistic who change the world. And so that is Jupiter's function in our lives as humans, and that's the energy that's going to kind of shift here, and it's going to be correlated with Gemini. And so for the past few months, actually, Jupiter has been in Gemini since the end of May, so basically all of summer to now. Jupiter has been transiting Gemini, and it's been bringing this expansive type of energy to these traits of Gemini, which are curiosity, learning, social connections, communication. And so there's just this air of extroversion that's kind of been present these last couple months, this energy in us that's been calling us out to maybe explore new avenues. Maybe we're getting new ideas for projects and things we want to explore, being more curious, wanting to make more social connections. All of those things are really correlated with Jupiter's presence in Gemini. Now, one of the more challenging aspects of this is that, there's a saying that Gemini likes to has a finger in every pie kind of mentality, where it's like, oh, what is this? I want to go see what that is. Oh, but I'm curious about this too. Let me go over here. And focus isn't always Gemini's strong suit. To be able to focus on an area can be very divergent and appreciate diversity. And so Jupiter's presence in Gemini may have taken you to a lot of different paths and avenues these last several months, which might have been really fun and filled your life with a lot of new things. Perhaps you've wanted to learn about more things and open your mind, meet new people, talk more. All of these types of things may have kind of come up for you while Jupiter's been moving direct in Gemini. However, this whole concept of biting off more than you can chew. I've just heard a lot of people these last several months kind of say, wow, there's just so much I have going on. I want to do this, that, and that, and all the things and all the social connections. And when it comes down to it, this unrealistic principle of Jupiter can maybe we only have so many fingers, and there can only be so many pies in our lives. We have limited resources and limited time. And Jupiter's retrograde, so this motion of the retrograde taking place, is going to call us in to maybe reflect and review some of these curiosities, these new projects, these new ideas, social connections, to really assess like how realistic they are. I'll be like, okay, do I have time to do all this? Like, do I actually care about that thing? What are my goals that I want to achieve? And what's preventing you from doing it? Sometimes when we have energy going in all these directions, we can only get so much done. And so the retrograde period is going to allow us to maybe hone in, dial in on all the projects and curiosities we've explored into what we genuinely care about, what we actually want to achieve. So I recommend you utilize this next retrograde chapter to maybe look at all the pies that you have fingers in and assess, what's your favorite pie? Which goal and aspiration do you actually want to put your energy towards? And it's going to be a beautiful time where maybe some things are going to fall to the wayside, and let them. It's okay if you have an unfinished project that just didn't continue to capture your interest. Just like let it go, and you can focus your energy on the things you actually want to achieve. And the same can be said for social connections. It's beautiful to have a lot of social circles and to be well connected in your community. But it's a time to ask yourself maybe how much social energy you actually have, and whether these connections are going to support you in achieving these aspirations you might have for your life. So really it's a focus of our energy, a focus, a pulling in of the immense diversity and growth we might have experienced by way of ideas and projects and connections that happened over these last several months. And another component of this transit that I want to talk about is this, it's correlated with the saying of curiosity killed the cat, which is definitely under the umbrella of Gemini. Gemini is here to help us learn how to interact with our environment. Gemini is the energy that's like, that will touch a hot stove, to learn not to touch the hot stove. Sometimes we have to learn lessons the hard way. Mistakes and accidents are commonly correlated with the Gemini zodiac sign, and that is because we learn through our mistakes and our accidents. So if there has been a path that you have followed, maybe by the whim of Jupiter and Gemini, of let's just see where I go with this and I can do it on pure faith, and maybe that path doesn't lead you to the best end result, maybe there's a lesson there for you. just kind of take that lesson and know that that's exactly how you needed to learn that in order to grow and evolve, and to maybe just look at the areas in your life where you feel like you've taken a big risk. Maybe put your head out there a little bit too far, and just know, like, during the retrograde cycle, assess, add a little bit of practicality to these avenues that you're pursuing and exploring, and assess the risk. Take calculated risks. Maybe have a backup plan, a safety net for some of these areas where Jupiter might have bitten off more than it can chew. And the final thing I'll say about this Jupiter retrograde in Gemini to be aware of is that this energy is also correlated with us opening our minds and being welcoming to differences from other people. There is a lower expression of Gemini energy that is judgmental and highly opinionated and will gossip and place, so-and-so shouldn't be doing this or that, and we can tend to judge each other. That's kind of a lower expression of Gemini. And in a higher expression of Gemini, we're actually really open and accepting to differences and diversity, which is a beautiful part of our lives. We're all different. And so it is interesting to me that this retrograde cycle coincides with the presidential election in November. And us really needing to open up and be acceptant and tolerant of differences of other people and walks of life and belief systems in order to communicate with each other. Typically we don't want to talk to someone if they are judging us and not approving of our lifestyle and the way we do things. Like, we're not going to be open to cooperate or collaborate with them, and we're not going to really solve any problems. And so Jupiter retrograde in Gemini is an invitation for all of us to maybe analyze and reflect, like, where can we allow more differences in our lives? How can we be more accepting of diversity in our community? And how does that allow us to actually form better bonds and maybe solve some challenges that could be ahead with this presidential election taking place? So just another thing to consider in your own life. How open-minded are you? When do you start to judge someone because they're different? When we typically fear what's different from us. However, we don't have to fear that in each other. We can allow a lot of diversity of people doing things different ways without being afraid of it. So that's something else to evolve and develop over this cycle, especially in the coming times. So if you are curious to understand where Jupiter is in your natal chart, because Jupiter was somewhere in the sky when you were born, and you have Jupiter energy in you, and wherever Jupiter falls in your chart is this area that's wanting you to expand, and it's actually energy that you can really harness and utilize in your life to achieve your goals, understand how this self-belief and faith-based principle operate in you. And also, knowing this, like how this retrograde might show up for you specifically. There's way more detail to know when you understand where Jupiter's at in your chart. So if you're someone who's really wanting to work with this energy, I invite you to either maybe invest in a personal recording. I do 20-minute recordings for $50, or I also do private sessions for deeper exploration of your natal chart and your soul, and to understand these energetic dynamics that underlie all of your life and permeate everything that materializes from you. So those resources are below. I also have a full blog on this retrograde, which kind of goes into a little bit more detail. So feel free to explore that as well if you are wanting to understand more of Jupiter and some other examples of like how this might show up in our lives during this time. But regardless, I hope you have a wonderful Jupiter retrograde cycle and season, and may you hone in and focus on the avenues and projects and people that you want to expand in, and so you can achieve new heights in your life.